Hi everyone, it's Hannah or Lambency and welcome back to another doll customization video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made Peridot from Steven Universe. This is the first doll of a series of revamps I'm going to be doing. I originally made Peridot back in 2017 and she was actually the fourth doll I ever made. A lot of my earlier Steven Universe doll videos have been removed from YouTube, so I thought instead of just re-uploading with new music, it's time for a change. I've really improved my customization skills these past few years, and also a lot, actually I think all of these Steven Universe characters got new outfits since 2017, so they need their new and improved look. I plan on revamping Lapis, Garnet, Pearl, Amethyst, Stevani, and maybe some other ones, I'm not sure yet, but yeah, stay tuned. Anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well, and as always, thank you for your support. First, let's get rid of these old clothes and old hair. I ripped the clothes off, then took off her visor and used an X-Acto knife to cut away at the clay. I chose to do clay hair back in 2017 because I didn't know how else to make her triangle hair, and I didn't know about yarn hair at the time and how it's much easier to manipulate than nylon hair. So let's take this ugly helmet off and give her proper hair. I peeled as much of the paint off her face as I could and then removed the rest with acetone nail polish remover. I repainted her body and face using acrylic paint, starting with white acrylic and then doing 2 coats of green over that once it dried. I also painted light yellow on her head where her hair will go. Now to give her a new face! I sealed it with Mr. Super Clear, and once it dried, I started drawing with Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. I started with a light green color for the initial sketch, then sealed it and darkened the colors. It's important to seal the face between each layer of color to keep everything in place and add more vibrancy and dimension. Without a sealant, it will look very flat, which is a mistake I made when I first started customizing. I wish I had a better quality picture of what Peridot's face looked like before, but you can kind of see here the green irises are basically just a solid color. I also felt like the black around her eyes were too harsh looking, so I choose instead to use a dark green. Also, I made her eyebrows green even though she has blonde hair, so I fixed that as well. Once the face was completed, I sealed it with Mr. Super Clear and then used the head of a pen to add dots of white acrylic paint to the eyes. I used gloss varnish on the eyes and lips as well to make them shiny. I made her gem using epoxy sculpt. My 2017 Peridot only had a drawn-on gem and it just didn't seem right, so I used my fingers to shape the clay, and once it hardened, I painted it green and made it shiny with gloss varnish, and there is her gem! I feel like I say gem weird. I was saying gym. Gym. Gem. I don't know if that's just my California dialect or if I just don't know how to speak correctly. Anyway, let's move on to the hair. I'm using this light yellow 100% acrylic yarn, a hoop, and a pet brush. I cut strands of yarn to the length that I wanted and then tied them onto the hoop so I could easily brush it out. Once a good amount was on the hoop, I took the pet brush and brushed out the yarn until it was smooth and tangle-free. Then I straightened the yarn with my flat iron. Look at this beautiful yarn hair. I cut the yarn up the hoop to the size hair wefts I wanted and set them aside, then laid down plastic wrap. I used tacky glue to coat the top of the wefts. I pressed down the hair with a plastic palette knife. Once the glue dried, I peeled off the hair wefts and cut the excess glue off the top. I used tacky glue once again to glue the wefts onto the head. I start in the back and then make my way up to the front. I'm sorry I'm not really in frame for most of this. I was really focused and I didn't notice that the camera wasn't even capturing me. I cut short strands to frame her face and some of the excess hair on the top. I used tiny bits of fabric glue to keep her hair sticking together in a triangle-ish shape. I also used a lot of hairspray. It's not a perfect triangle shape, but I think it looks better than the weird clay helmet thing that was going on in 2017 Peridot. Anyway, next I used hot glue to put on her gem. Now that her head is done, let's move on to the clothes. I used all knit fabric to make our bodysuit, and the bodysuit pattern is from DG Requiem on Etsy. However, I altered it slightly for the color blocking. I traced the original pattern onto separate paper, and then cut out where the color blocking would occur, and added seam allowances. DG Requiem has a tutorial for this, which I will link down below in the description. I cut out and pinned together the various pieces, dark green for the top, green pants, and yellow boots. Peridot actually has two different greens, as you can see here, but I only had one dark green knit and I didn't feel like trying to find another one. Once the pieces were sewed together, I sewed up the back here but left an opening for the closure. Then I folded the bodysuit right sides together and sewed everything except for the arm and neck openings and the back. I turned it right sides out and placed it on the doll. I folded the fabric under here instead of hemming it, and although the back is a little tight, I sewed in snaps. It's bursting a bit. There's a little tear in the fabric right here, so I'm just going to glue down this black ribbon to cover it. I cut the stars out of felt and glued them onto the bodysuit. I accidentally cut out yellow stars for the knees at first and had to rip them off, which is why there's glue already here. Now for her awesome Kamina glasses. I cut out a piece of plastic from plastic packaging and traced a glasses pattern I made onto it. I forgot to add the temples, so I freehand drew them on and cut it out, folded the temples, and colored it all with a yellow Sharpie. Done! Peridot is complete. Here is her finished look. I really love how she turned out, and I loved seeing how much I've improved since 2017. Here is a before and after picture to really see the difference. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!